Hello YouTube, I am Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and on this channel we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting them the answers they need from an employment attorney. Here we have a question from Miss Monte Carlos, or Carlos, depending on how it should be said. I apologize if I'm incorrect. And Miss Monte Carlos asked us, should my attorney let me know what the conversations consist of when she has a phone or email conversation with opposing counsel? My former employer agreed to mediation. Then their attorney reached out to mine for settlement demands. She spoke to opposing counsel. Then all I was told was that my former employer and counsel think mediation is now futile. She spoke with opposing counsel again, and I received an email saying that we are not doing mediation now at all, and that my case will go back to the investigations unit at the EEOC, and that the EEOC does not find cause very often, so my case will likely be dismissed at some point. And I responded in text on the comment thread. This is all about 3 months ago. I apologize for the delay. I responded, I and the attorneys at my firm do generally give a rundown of important conversations with opposing counsel to our clients. I'll try to make you a video to unpack this a little more. And Ms. Monte Carlos responded, thank you so much. I'm starting to feel not so confident with the attorney I have, and since I have never been through something like this, I want to make sure I'm not having unrealistic expectations of my attorney. I am very worried that we went from going to mediation to now absolutely not negotiating, and her telling me my case will likely be dismissed. I keep thinking what went wrong and how. And I responded again, if the mediation was canceled, it may be that the demand was too high, or that facts came through in evidence that were detrimental to your case. I'll add to that. Oh, she responded again. Thank you for that info. Since I have no idea what was discussed and I was not given any update, I am not sure what happened. I don't see how there is any detrimental evidence other than something that is not true, but I guess I need to have a conversation with my attorney. Exactly. And ask what is going on. Any advice on how to approach that conversation would be appreciated. I can be pretty straight and to the point and upfront like you. Awesome. I love that about you. And some people take that as being rude. They do. All the time they do. And I know they do. So I see you call yourself Miss, so I'm assuming you might self-identify as female. I think people tolerate it from me and maybe from men a little bit more than they do from women, which is very unfair because I think that you and I have a very effective communication style. Very efficient, very clear. Also very unpleasant for some people. To which I would say, listen, sometimes things are hard. Sometimes conversations are difficult. Sometimes the truth can be uncomfortable, right? So we communicate the way we communicate because that's the way we need to communicate to effectively convey what we're trying to convey. And if that makes you uncomfortable, well, maybe that's on you. But all right, let's get to your question. So here's the deal. Clients often will say, hey, you talked to opposing counsel. What'd they have to say? Right? You conveyed my demand to opposing counsel. I demanded X. You conveyed X. What went on? And I'll say, yeah. So they weren't thrilled with that demand. They gave me some pushback, and they said they're going to talk to their client. And then clients will often say, no. I need to know everything that was said. It depends, right? If we're talking about the guy's kids, like, oh, your kid hit another kid with a trombone, that's unfortunate. But it was funny though. Your kid's a tough one, like there's pleasant conversations like that. There's the back and forth, and it's important for employment attorneys to maintain those relationships, even with defense counsel, because defense counsel are in effect the people who get your clients' checks, right? Defense counsel are the person on the other side who say, oh yeah, this case is going to mess us up. Hey client, hey employer, give this person a check and make it a fat one, right? So yeah, I converse with defense counsel, and no, I'm not going to give you every single thing that I talk to the defense counsel about. Now I will give you the items about your case, right? if I go and extend a demand for you, and defense counsel's like, listen, we got this mediation coming up in 2 months, and I want to be frank with you, this demand, you can explain it to me, but it sounds like bullshit. Sounds like you didn't properly calculate the damages here. Your client's full of shit. Something's going on because you're demanding like 70 years of average earnings for this person. And I look at this case and I see it as an 8-monther. So I don't know if you should even bother with mediation if this is seriously where you're coming into mediation, right? Those conversations happen, right? We have these frank conversations. And often people say to me, listen, you're a straight shooter. You're a straight shooter. You wouldn't make a bullshit demand. Why this? Why this? Because you, to me right now, Vince, as a defense attorney, Vince, you sound like a jackass. You sound like one of those POS attorneys who don't know how to calculate damages. And it just seems like you're just making up demands. I'll say, well, I appreciate the kind words couched in an insult. And here's why I'm at where I'm at. And this is why we think we should go with this higher demand, right? And you have those back and forths. And I'm all for summarizing that stuff to my clients because it's important for the clients to hear things like, yeah, they don't want to go to the mediation because you're asking for $11 billion and they want to give you 20 grand, right? Like that's valuable for the client to hear, but also the client should understand defense attorneys lie. Also, I lie to defense attorneys, right? We're not tipping our hand in its fullness. If I'm like, listen, last best final, $11 billion. No defense attorney's like, oh yeah? If I gave you $9 billion, you would just not take it? I don't know, Vince. I think you're full of shit, right? Like, clearly, there's a give and take. Everyone's using the truth as a weapon. Everyone's using words as a weapon. That's the gig. So, well, I should share those things with you. I should also tell you, yeah, so listen, this guy always says the things and does the stuff. I don't want you to be too swayed by this because it's always, this case is 20 grand. And then, during depositions, you get the real offer, the real negotiation, right? So yeah, you should tell your client the substantive parts of that conversation, but you should couch it in context and in your beliefs about the conversation. Like, I listen, this is what they said. I don't buy it. Or this is what they said. And frankly, it sounds pretty real. And they sent over some pictures and I have concerns about your case now, right? These are important things for the attorney and the client to have a discussion about. And what concerns me here is that your attorney was just like part of this conversation where both defense counsel and your attorney decided, oh yeah, mediation is pointless. So your attorney thinks mediation is pointless. Why? Right? Like if I'm going to my client, I'm like, yeah, we're not doing this mediation. This mediation it's stupid at this point. Right? I better be a conversation. Like a fully formed conversation with a lot of filling out the why, right? Listen, have I said this mediation is pointless now because of this and that? Yeah, of course, right? Great example. Person walks in, makes a settlement demand. We'll just call it settlement demand, $500,000. And the employer says, oh, really? $500,000? Okay, sold. We're done. Settled. And then my client says, whoa. They agreed to my settlement terms and we have an oral settlement that might be binding? No. Fuck that. I want $30 million. Yeah, so no one's going to negotiate with you further. They gave you everything you wanted, and then you just increased the demand. Now they just kind of know, oh, this person's not really negotiating in good faith. They're an asshole. And we can't really, there's no point in settlement negotiations because if we give them what they look for, they're just going to look for more. So maybe we'll make a motion to try to force the settlement that we agreed on verbally, or, and this is from the defense counsel perspective, or maybe we'll just say, okay, we got to litigate it now because we're definitely not going to pay $30 million, right? Like, these conversations happen. And I need to have a conversation with that client being like, hey, the defense counsel's attorney did a lot of bad things to you, and that's why you have a valuable case. But now, in this context, they're trying to pay you. You asked for an amount, and they said yes. And now you're trying to switch it up. Something the judge might not like is something defense counsel doesn't think he can trust now. He doesn't think he can negotiate with you in good faith anymore. So it's tough to get a settlement at this point. And also, I'm not thrilled with you because you told me, listen, Vince, I need $500,000. Get me $500,000, and I'll feel like you really helped me. And I move heaven and earth, and I get you $500,000. And your response is, I want more, right? Like, what are we doing? You're a jackass, right? And now you've got a lot of people arrayed against you, and your case is much harder. It's much harder to get you settlements. It's much harder to make you look sincere and genuine to the judge. It's much hard. Everything is harder now because of what you've done. And so I need to have that conversation with the client, right? I'm getting a bit of far afield here. The second part of your question is, how do you have that conversation with your attorney? Great question. You're asking all the right questions. And I suspect you've already had this conversation with your attorney, and I hope it went well. Call up the attorney and say, hey, let's call, or email the attorney. Let's schedule a call. I'm going to need a solid half hour, maybe hour of your time. I need to understand what went down with the mediation. I want to understand why the mediation was canceled. I want to understand what it means for us tactically going forward. I want to understand why you're saying my EEOC case will be dismissed. That's not even a thing. The EEOC doesn't really dismiss cases, just issues right to sue letters, so cases can go on to federal court. So why are you saying my case will be dismissed? What does that even mean to you? Like, what are you trying to convey to me? And how do we get here, and what are you trying to say? I often find that lists of questions are really, really valuable. Like, I will often, I'll be talking to a client, I'm like, listen, you seem very frustrated with me right now. You have many questions, and in this moment, you are not thinking of your questions the way you want. And while you're frustrated with me, that is also agitating you. So why don't we schedule a call for tomorrow, or even the day after if you want. And in the meantime, you get me a list of all your questions, and I will get you responses in writing to all of your questions. And then we will get on a call and go line by line with each question and each response, and give and talk about those responses until you understand where I'm coming from on each. You might not agree with me, but you will understand what I'm saying, right? We will stay in the pocket until you understand. Not until you agree. Agreement's not necessary. We don't have to agree on everything. But I do owe you understanding, right? I owe you the ability to make an informed decision, right? You might say, Vince, I hear what you're saying about not increasing my demand to $30 million. And I understand, I fundamentally understand the risks and difficulties I have created by making a demand, getting my demand met, and then randomly increasing my demand massively for no apparent reason, it seems. Like, I understand what you're saying, and I have a good working understanding of all the problems that introduces into my case. Thank you for explaining that. I still don't agree. I'm still going to go for $30 million. Okay. Well, listen, the judge might try to force you that settlement. I don't know. They might try to make a motion to hold you to that settlement. But if we can beat that, and I can try this case for you and try to win you as much as I can, that's still my preference. That's still my goal. I don't have the power, nor should I, to substitute my judgment for yours. I didn't live through these events. You did. And as long as you understand the decisions you're making, good enough for me, right? So I would urge you, just be straight up with that attorney up front. Hey, things happen pretty quick there, and I need to know why. I need to know what happened. I need to know why you're not telling me about my federal rights to go on to federal court. I got a variety of questions here. Why don't I provide you a list and then we schedule a call to discuss? That's how I would go about it. I hope this helps. If it does, like, subscribe, comment down below. I will check the comments. I think people have a lot of comments about this one. I think people have questions about how to talk to their attorney. It seems to be a constant and perennial issue in our field because we are highly aggressive attorneys, human beings who choose conflict for a living, who then enter a dual role job where we have conflict every day with the other side and service obligations to our clients. And those are two very, very different modes of communication that often would be filled by two very, very different kinds of human beings. And here in our field, the one person, the same person, does it. You need a detail-oriented, irrationally aggressive person who treats their clients with respect and good communication. Pretty rare. Pretty hard to come by. Hard to hire. I know. Been doing it for a decade. Those people don't come every day. Remember, everybody works. Not everybody wins.